Good afternoon, and welcome to the 40th CALLERLAB Convention in Cary, North Carolina. Today is March 25th, and this is the modules session. So make sure that this is a session you want to be at. This is the modules session. I am Bob Poyner, and I will be the moderator for this session. And I have two gentlemen with me who probably really need no introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway. First of all, to my immediate right is Doug Davis from Colbert, Washington. Doug has been calling for 39 years, calling mainstream through A2. And he travels extensively on weekends as featured caller for special dances, regional, state, and national festivals. And since 2007, Doug has been an accredited CALLERLAB caller coach and has done several caller colleges. Would you give him a nice hand? Wow, that sounds I actually condensed a little bit of it. And then to my far right, from Chattanooga, Tennessee, Mr. Paul Henze. Now, Paul started out in this activity a little different. He come in the back door, so to speak. He and his wife were going to take clogging lessons, or were actually at a clogging place. And they had a square dance going on upstairs. And Paul kind of wandered up there and got tuned into square dancing. Took lessons, and after he graduated from the lessons, they had an amateur night. Well, they told Paul, they gave him a record and said, would you please learn this singing call, and at the evening of the amateur thing, we want you to just lip sync it. Paul slipped up. He sang it. And it's history from there. Paul actually started calling, 1979? That's when he graduated from lessons. But Paul started calling for his first club in 1983 and taught his first class. And he has taught a new class every year since. And that's amazing. He has been a CALLERLAB caller coach status since 1993. And since 1998, Paul has been the chairman of that committee. Would you welcome Paul Henze? And Paul's going to be the first speaker for this. He's going to be the first panelist. And
yeah, I don't care.
Okay.
We decided to change it up on you.
Okay. That happens to me all the time.
Well, I'm not Paul, by the way. He's Paul. Paul and I talked earlier, and we're going to change up what we originally planned to do. First of all, I want to ask a couple of questions to get started. How many of you know what modules are? Virtually everybody in the room. Okay, so I don't need to go through all of that. How many of you use modules regularly? If you're honest, you'll raise your hand. Because every caller uses modules. Let me say that again. Every caller uses modules. I don't see how you can call without using them. But of course, you know then if you know modules, you know that there's really 5 kinds of modules that we use, right? There's get-ins, there's zeros, equivalents, conversions, and get-outs, right? We know that, right? And there's also one that I add in every once in a while. I call it a flow module, which simply means it's dancing with wind in your face and letting the dancers dance freely. So I was going to go through, I think I will anyway. What the heck? Module calling was invented sometime in the 50s, early 60s, sometime in there. And module calling requires a knowledge of phaser. How many of you don't know what phaser means? Wow. Outstanding. I'm impressed with this group. Wow. I thought I was going to have to go through all that. So you really have to have a knowledge of phaser to be able to write modules. You have to understand the mechanics of choreography and how dancers move, flow, all of that, so that you can sit down and write your modules. I'm not going to define get-ins and conversions and all that, because I think you've probably all gone through that. Zeros. I'm going to just skip to the second page of my thing here. I was thinking I was going to have to go through it all. If you will, and if you will use modules religiously, and I do. I'm not one who preaches something that I don't do, and I use modules. I'm a site caller, but I use a lot of modules, and I prefer that new callers, especially brand new callers, do nothing but use modules. And I will tell you, and some of you have been through my schools, I will tell you that if you will write modules, use modules, and do it religiously, and really, really write them and know them, you will find yourself site calling eventually. It will happen. It's just a natural evolution. But on the second page at the top of the second page, and I've done the math on this, I have a degree in mathematics. I know that's probably hard to believe, but I do, and so I ran the math on this. If you have 2 get-ins, 2 zeros, 2 get-outs, they can be combined to have 28 different routines. 3, and 3 is 360 different routines. If you have, let's jump to the bottom. If you have 5 get-ins, 5 zeros, 5 get-outs, that can be combined into 97,650 different routines. I often hear that using modules is restrictive. I can't do a lot of stuff. Well, 97,650 different routines is not very restrictive. That's a lot of choreography. In fact, I would guess that if you check what you've done for an entire dance season or an entire year, you won't come close to using 97,650 routines. Maybe in 30 or 40 years you might, but you won't in one dance season. If you throw into that some conversions, from a zero box to a zero line, or from a zero line back to a zero box, throw those in, this number doubles. And then write a couple more of those, it doubles again. If you invert and rotate everything, you can use it all over again. Everybody understand invert and rotate? Anybody not understand invert and rotate? Oh, you guys are good.
I would like you to just go over it, please.
He's gonna cover that in his part. Okay, and if you throw in the invert and rotate, it all doubles again, because once you change the orientation of the square, it feels different to the dancers. It's not different, but it feels different. So modules to me are wow. That's when somebody turned me onto them after I started calling about probably 3 or 4 years after I started calling. I had a young gentleman tell me that I need to be writing modules and using modules, and that guy's name is Bill Peters. And if you don't know who he is, I had a lot of respect for the guy at the time, and I said maybe he's on the right track, and he showed me how to do it, what to do, and he gave me a copy of his book, The Mighty Module, and I went from there. And I'm pretty much a module caller, but I do site call. But I'm telling you, if you use these modules, and this guy's going to tell you how to put them together and how to use them. But trust me, believe me, if you'll do this, if you'll write the modules, if you'll put them all together, and it's like baking or cooking. you put all these on the wall, and that's your menu. And you take a get in from over here, and you take a zero from here, and then a conversion from here, and come back over here and pull this zero, and then you take. And I'm telling you, it is just fascinating what you can do with modules. So I don't know as I can add any more to that without going into what my friend here is going to cover. Are there any questions? We don't want to do questions now, do we? Okay, when we get done, we'll have question and answer. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Paul, and he's going to show you how to put these modules together.
Okay, can I get a working square? Hopefully 4 guys, 4 girls up here in the front, please. I'll move the chairs back so we can get everybody together and kind of give you an idea.
See, these guys already know.
4 girls, 4 guys.
That's cool.
Come on, girls. Help me out here. That's 1. We got 2. Working on 3.
Hurry. We're
Got 1 more. Working on 4. Okay, great. And for the sake of the audience, so we have a good working relationship, this is going to be couple number 1. For those of you on the tape right here, we're having the audience to look at couple number 1, which is there to the backs of the audience. Number 2, if you hold your hands up, 3, and 4. And as Doug said earlier, there's 5 different situations he works with, and I think of it in terms of 3 different things: a get in, a dance, and a get out. That's where I generally associate most of my dancing situations and experiences. Now, I'm going to take you back, and I want you to pretend that you're coming into a caller school, and we're just starting out with you as a new caller. And we want to try to get you up and calling and showing something that you can start working with relationships. Now, I bet if you've been at home, you've been given a record and you've done a singing call, and that head's gone from here to a size 12, and next time you've done a second one, it's a size 14. And at this point, you're really getting hooked, and this caller says go to caller school. So this is where I want you to be right now. We're in a caller school, and we're going to start working. And the first thing we'll start working with is called a chicken plucker. I'm sure most of you have seen this, but if we work with most calling, we will want you, first of all, to heads square through 4. Go. And we know at this point in time we're going to be ended up in what kind of a relation do we call this? What's the figure here? What's the 0 box? Okay, the old days we called it a box 1-4. Forget those days. We're now in a 0 box. And this is where we start working with the chicken plucker. And the idea we want to do is we want to move the dancers, and we're going to identify main dancers. We're going to take the 2 center couples. If you'll hold your hands up, too, the 2 center couples. These are the active dancers that we're going to be watching. These people on the outside in the side position now are just going to be doing back and forth and staying where they are. The primary thing that you've got to do as a caller, you've got to decide which one of these people that you want to watch as the active dancer. Do you want to watch this gentleman here, which is cool, or we can watch this gentleman that's over here? Okay, decide in your mind which way that you go to in terms of relationship. Secondly, look at where their X's are on the floor, where they're starting from, because that's going to be their home position where they come back to. Okay, if you don't know the routine, here's what it needs to be. And I think on the handouts, look and see if you show chicken plucker. Do you? Chicken plucker. All right, write this down. Write this down with me. Don't do it yet, dancers. It's going to be a right and left through. Pass through. Trade by. Right and left through. Pass through. Trade by. Let me say it again. It's a right and left through. Pass through, trade by, right and left through, pass through, trade by. Let's watch how the dancers are going to perform here. Okay? Do a right and left through. Pass through, trade by. Now, at this point in time, if we've been watching this gentleman here, is he back home where he started from? What do we call this in terms of square dance in terminology? Across the street box, okay? He's halfway there. Watch him again. Do a right and left through. Pass through. trade by. Is he back home? What can we do at this point in time? Don't do it. He could do an Alaman left and come back with his partner and be back to the home position. Okay? For the sake of time, we're going to keep on working. Now, we're going to watch him this time, and if he will, hold your hand up so the dancers can all see you as you're going around this time, okay? Do a right and left through. Keep that hand up as much as you can. Pass through, trade by, do a right and left through. Pass through, trade by. Is he home? All right, you call it this time in the audience. You ready? Go. Right and left through, pass through, trade by, right and left through, pass through, trade by. Everybody understand the mechanics of a chicken plucker? Now, we talked about the invert and rotate. Notice if we want to say this is north, south, east, and west, or east and west, invert and rotate is going to allow us to change the dancing direction. This way we'll say it's east to west. We're going to change it to a north-south dancing direction. We call this invert and rotate. Some people call it a technical zero. Invert and rotate, if you write this down, is a star through, pass through, bend the line, and star through. Okay, and say it again. It's a star through, pass through, bend the line, star through. Let's watch what it does with the dancers. All right, dancers, star through, pass through, bend the line, star through. Notice how we've changed east-west dancing to north-south dancing, okay? Everybody get the idea? We've changed what? The active dancers are now here, and we've changed the active dancers to watch this time. Hold your hand up if you will. And the other dancers, if you hold your hands up. These are the active dancers now we've got to watch. Before we were watching these. We don't watch them now anymore. We watch only the ones that are inside. And if you will, this time, if you'll hold your hands up, okay, help me out here again with the chicken plucker. Go. Right and left through. Pass through. Trade by. Do a right and left through. Pass through. Trade by. What do we have now? Zero box. We could call, don't do it, we could call an Alaman left and come back home. Okay? So now we've won a chicken plucker and we've got an invert and rotate. This is the beauty of the invert and rotate. Now, we've only done the invert and rotate with a zero box understanding. Everybody understand? We've not done any conversion. We've just done a north and south, east and west. Will everybody see what we've done on the chicken plucker and the invert and rotate? All right, let's go to what we call a conversion, because we'll add another invert and rotate in a minute ago. Step to a wave.
Can you explain can we get back to the east-west for real quick?
Yeah, go back home if you will. Square your sets. And feel free to jump in comments anytime we need to.
Head step in and face your corner. What he's going through here, and I'm sure he meant to say it, was that chicken plucker is a module. Okay, chicken plucker is a module. It's a zero. It takes dancers back to the same phaser that they started from. So half of the chicken plucker, right and left through, pass through, trade by, is a half zero. Gets you halfway. So to complete the zero, you have to do chicken twice. You got to do that pass. Okay, so it's a zero. The invert and rotate is also a zero module. It does not change phaser. It simply changes the grid that we're dancing in, east, west, and north, south. Now it's north, south, east, west. Okay, go ahead. That's all I want to say.
Good. All right, let's do our invert and rotate again. Audience, talk to me. What is it? Star through, pass through, bend the line, star through. Let me caution one thing to you, and let's watch it again. Star through. Now stop. What do we have at this point in time? Lines. What normally should you have your dancers doing automatically? Holding hands. Okay? Pass through. What do you have now? Another line. Bend the line. What do you have now? Another line. Star through. This is elementary, and you know this, but we're trying to, again, caution about what's going on, okay? Star through, pass through, bend the line, star through, and step two away. Let's look at a conversion. We're going to change a 0 box to a 0 line. Look on your sheet. Does it show this one, or do we need to walk it through for information? It's on there. All right. Watch what we're doing. Swing through. Girls circulate. Boys trade. Boys run around these girls and bend the line. Now we've got, what's this called? 0 line, because at any given time, if we say a 0, we can do a left dollar man, right? And we can do our thing. The only problem is if we do a 0 box, or we call a left dollar man, where's our problem going to be? It won't be a problem on the ends. It'll be a problem here in the centers, because the centers will try to reach across the majority of the time. So remember, think as a new caller, we're trying to learn the experience factor here. So remember to keep that in mind. Okay, now we've learned how to convert. Let's do an invert and rotate out of facing lines. Pass through. Good, you may hold your hands out. Bend the line. Do a right and left through. Now, we've changed north-south to east-west if you want to in terms of your line relationship. Everybody understand? Pass through again. Bend the line. And a right and left through. See how the relationship changed back? Still a 0 line, but we've inverted and rotate from the, if we'll call it a north-south to an east-west relationship again. Okay? And like Doug said earlier that I failed to mention, this is what we call starts with an M, O, D, module. Okay? A working module. Now, we want to do another conversion, and we're going to change the 0 line back to a 0 box. 0 line to a 0 box. It's touch a quarter, go. Column circulate. Boys run around the girls. And we now have what? A 0 box. One more time, step to a wave. You walk me through the conversion back to a 0 line. Go. Swing through. Girls circulate. Boys trade. Boys run. Bend the line. Good. Let's do a invert and rotate. Pass through. What's next? Bend the line. Do a right and left through. One more time, invert and rotate. Pass through. Bend the line. Do a right and left through. That again was a module. See the beauty of the modules that Doug is talking about? It just compounds itself, and you go on and on and on with the relationships. Question?
Barb from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I was always taught to avoid using bend the line as much as possible because it stops things.
Did that stop things then? No. Relationships, I think, a lot of times is where you are, and I think that's trying to point out very quickly on the hand relationships. I think that's what gets us into trouble, no hands. Doug?
Yeah. One of the beauties of the conversion modules is, well, there's two ways, two things that you can modify them to make them even expand it more. You can take these conversion modules and put a star through before and after them, and they'll work from either direction. In other words, he did the conversion to get you here. He did a conversion from a 0 box to a 0 line. So we can do a star through, do that for me, star through, and we can do that same conversion, which was a swing through, I think it was, ends circulate, centers trade, centers run, bend the line, and star through, and we're back in a 0 box. Okay, we can also what I call flip-flop them. We can make them left-handed and change the girls for the boys and the boys for the girls. Okay? So we'll do a left swing through, do that, left swing through. Boys circulate, girl trade, girl run, bend the line, and we're back in a 0 line. Okay? so you can I call it flip flopping. I don't know if there's a is there a real term for that that you know of, Randy, for flip flopping them? Is there? What is it? Flip flopping them? Oh.
Boy, the dancers sure are sweating, though.
Oh, yeah. Randy did not know. He forgot. Yeah, do we? Okay. So you can flip-flop them. So now and you're actually doing the same thing, but it feels different to the dancers. And you didn't change a thing. Isn't that cool? How cool is that? Okay, so you just expanded that whole use of that. And you can do it with the touch a quarter, circulate, flip-flop bit as well. So,
all right, let's look at something. Let's change this back to a 0 box. Touch a quarter and column circulate. Now, let's just say at this point in time we forgot where we were. Can we call another column circulate? Well, let's try it. Column circulate. We forgot. Can we call another one? Yeah, column circulate. Boys run around these girls. Are we back to a 0 box? I think so. So here again, notice what your mind can do with you, and you can reach points where that's the module, the beauty. You can stay within a relationship and be doggone certain that everything is going to work out cool for you. Now, we're going to start off with a 0 box, and I'm going to work you through, and I'm going to tell the audience what we want, and you call it, and let's see what the dancers can do with it, okay? Now, who are we going to watch up here, first of all, audience? Who are we going to watch? The inside couples, right? So if you'll hold your hand up here, the man with the, that's definitely not an army hat, is it?
What's that?
That's definitely not an army hat, is it?
No.
Okay. All right, we're going to start off with a 0 box, and we're going to do a chicken plucker. Go, start calling it. Right and left through. Keep going. Invert and rotate. Okay, conversion to a 0 line. All right, change it back to 0 box. Good. Everybody understand? All right, now we're going to change this. We're going to invert and rotate again. How are we going to do it? I forgot. Star through. Good. And at this point in time, to get them back home, we know this next module, what's it going to be called? Alaman left. Good. And square your sets or flush the tank or get them back home. Okay, fast go at module idea, but this is how in a caller school that we would put things together and we start making our dancers start working, and we give them the relationships and we show them physically firsthand what they can do. And you'd be surprised, once you get these new guys up here or new girls up here the first time and you're working with this, don't feel hesitant to do it this way. This gets them dancing, this gets them started very quickly. Now, CALLERLAB is just coming out with a book that's going to help you, that's come through caller training, and the coaches also call caller mentoring. If you can pick up the materials with this, use it, because we, again, emphasize the module part of it, okay? Because we can come up with, from a calling standpoint. Okay, let's give the dancers a good hand. Thank you. Doug, you want to work with the dancers while we're up here?
No, that's fine. I want to go back to what I said before. 97,650 different routines, just with five get-ins, 5 zeros, and 5 get-outs. Well, or no, it was actually more than that. But anyway, can you see, just adding what we've showed you we could add here, modules are very, very powerful. And I think that if you really consider using them, you're going to really expand your knowledge. And you can write modules doing anything. What we've shown you here this afternoon is very simple stuff. but you can put whatever you want to in your modules. After all, they would be your modules, and you write your own. Are there, I think we're ready for questions and answers and stuff. Are there any questions?
We have lots of time.
Yes, Randy Doherty, please come up and use the microphone. This is being taped. You can't use my mic.
Doug mentioned about, he called it flip-flop when we're all across the square where the heads do right and left through and the sides do right and left through and then continue. But he also called the left swing through, the magic module, the left swing through, and the girls circulate and the boys trade and the girls run and all that stuff. And he called it flip-flop. I call it ambidextrous, being able to, if you do something right-handed, you could do it left-handed. And the one that you converted from zero line to zero box, you remember the one that they gave you? Started off with a what?
Touch.
Yeah, just think about doing that ambidextrously, and now you compounded that 96,500 and some again, because you'd do a left touch a quarter, circulate. Instead of having the boys run, you'd have the girls run. So that's ambidextrous is what I call it. So if you can do something clock, you can do it counterclock. Do something right-handed, you could do something left-handed. Okay. Tomorrow morning, I would like to invite everyone to a session that I'm going to be doing, and it's really going to be modules, but instead of having more of the basic program, we're going to go into more depth, and it's kind of like instead of 101, it's 303 or something, okay? So if you're interested in modules, come tomorrow morning and invite you. Me and me. I'll be doing it. No, just me. Is that a trick question, Robert? Anyway, it's labeled A Brief History of Choreography Management, but it's going to turn into really using a lot of modules.
Yeah. Thanks, Randy. Anybody else? No questions? You mean we were that good? Any comments? So, once again, yes, sir, we got one right there.
Tom Sellner from Maryland. It's understanding also why this worked. These modules work because what happened, we didn't chain the ladies. And when you understand that when we're doing chicken plucker and going back and forth, we're not chaining the ladies, and that's why this works. And then the conversions and all like that. So understanding that little thing, and then you can learn to chain the ladies, and you start putting the different ladies. You can make all this multiply by simply chaining the ladies. Now do these modules, and you have a get out with this new person. Now you've multiplied all those modules again times 4. So how many it was times 4 do we have? 1 million now? Different things that we can do.
That's a calling career. Boy, I guess we must have done a really good job, Paul.
You know, what you really need to realize is that many, many years ago, they didn't have such thing as sight calling. And everybody used modules. Everybody. Because you had your cards that you wrote up for your get in, and then for your dance, and then for your get outs. And every singing call that you do uses modules. So you've been using modules since day one, the very first singing call that you did. A lot of callers don't realize that that is a module. And I think these two guys did a beautiful job of explaining chicken plucker, for one thing. You'd be surprised how many out there don't know what a chicken plucker is. They think you got to go pluck a chicken. So, any more?
Paul did a really good job of presenting chicken plucker, and I would say that chicken plucker really is the basis for all square dance choreography. Really, what else can you do but move dancers from this side of the square to that side of the square, and invert and rotate it, and move dancers from over there to over there, and then move dancers from there over to here. And I mean, it really is. So you might want to really take that one to heart.
Yeah, if you look at, just for curiosity, look at the back of the handout of mine under modules, and you'll notice that there is a description there of modules galore. They mentioned several people up here earlier, one of which was Bill Peters. Bill is dead now, former caller coach himself, and he has written a lot of books that are you can see presented there, the Mighty Module and Sight Calling Made Easy, Modules Galore, Formation Management, et cetera, all of which are available or used to be available through, in this case it used to be Tom, now it's Pam up at, they still have these in stock. So these books are available if you want to go back and pick up modules. There's also, Cal Campbell has a note, not a note service, but he's got a email information that he will gladly send you that are modules that he's developed for certain calls. Cal Campbell. And you'll see him here at the convention, and you can get his email from him, and he will send these to you that are also available for those modules that he's developed these over a period of years. It's a large, thick stack. And they're very good, and you can use them also as singing calls too for your presentation.
Just for your information, I was just looking through this. There are 2 pages missing from my handout that didn't print. There should be a page 5 and 6, but I'm going to check the disc when I go back to my room. But if you really want pages 5 and 6, email me, and I'll be glad to send them to you. If it's on the disc, then yeah, check your disc and see if page 5 and 6 are on there.
I emailed you a while back. I'm not sure if I got the right email address.
Sure. Yeah, I sent him an answer back, but he never answered my answer back. So no, I'm kidding. My email address is D. That wasn't a stutter. There really are 2 D's. DDAVIS P, as in Paul, at AOL.com. So that's my first initial, D, my name, Davis, and my wife's first initial, P, at AOL.com. Yeah, and feel free to email me about any questions about modules or anything else. I don't care. I got no secrets, folks.
Mike Fetting with Anger, North Carolina, Anger Twirlers. I believe I know the answer to this question, but I just want to get a warm and fuzzy. Chicken plucker is chicken plucker the way we learned it now, or is chicken plucker a figure of speech of a certain move?
Chicken plucker was actually a routine that was written. Oh my gosh, who wrote it originally? Who wrote it? I can't remember. Do you know who wrote it? You don't know who wrote it? Oh man, I can't remember. But anyway, it was a routine that was written, and it originally had it was a little bit more than what we call chicken plucker today. It was a dive through, pass through, but there was more to it than that. It was on a record that was released as Chicken Plucker. It was called.
And you got to
Chicken Plucker
understand
on
the
the
reason
record.
we went away from the dive through, because as the age of dancers matures and gets a little bit more mature, I didn't say older, more mature, it's tough for them to go like this like they used to. They can get out, they can't get back up.
Yeah, but that routine was written sometime in the 40s or 50s. Yeah, and it was called Chicken Plucker, and it came out on a record.
I can't think of the name. Tom Sonner from Maryland. But in the book, I have the book. I have a copy at home. And in that, he has an alternate chicken plucker. When he has the outsides diving through and pass through and going across and coming back again. And that was his alternate chicken plucker.
Oh, yeah. Do you remember who it was? You don't remember who it was?
That was the original. Well, it's 2 names. It's Ricky what's his name?
And the other guy.
I can't. It's not coming to me for some
I
whatever reason.
Yeah, I've got that too, and I can't come up with a name. All right. Well, any other questions? Oh, you're the moderator, not me. I'm not gonna...
That's okay. You guys were doing good. Anyway, I don't know how many of you started back in the early 60s, but I did. I started calling back in 1963. And one of the things that I was always afraid to do was chain the ladies. I had a hard time getting them back home because we didn't have a lot of the calls that we have today that you could move them around with. And like I say, we had not worked on sight calling, and we were using cards. Everything was written out on cards, 3x5 cards. I had to stack that high. And if you didn't use cards, you memorized. And a lot of my stuff was done from the singing calls. And I've got singing calls from back in those days, and there's no swing throughs. There's no spin the tops. We didn't have those calls. I learned a lot of the stuff by watching the new calls as they were introduced. And believe you me, there's a bunch of them now. But I appreciate y'all coming to the session. If we have no further, you have a question? There we go.
I'm Barb from Pittsburgh. I've been working on sight calling for a number of years, and now I decided I need to have more get-outs. Just because, to me it's getting boring finding the corner, and as a dancer, I like the surprise of here comes my corner. Can we work through or dance through some of those to get outs?
There's the man that can do it. We got two of them here.
You want to see some get outs?
You want to see them? Get a square up, please.
Get outs from where? From wherever.
From wherever.
Well, the master had it sitting right back there in the blue shirt.
So in other words, I'm supposed to go to 303 tomorrow for get out.
Yeah, he's gonna expand what we talked about today tomorrow. So what you're talking about is get outs. We have get ins and all that other stuff, and then when we get to a place that we want to do a get out, and that can be any place you want to set it up to. It doesn't matter where it is. Let's say I want to do a get out from an across the street box. Okay, let's have the head star through, pass through. Okay, so we're across the street, and I want to do a get out from here because I don't know why, I just do. So I just happen to have one. Touch a quarter, scoot back, the boy run, slide through, left allemande, right and left grand, on the third hand, do another right and left grand, on the third hand. I lost count. That's the third hand.
I thought so. I thought so.
Do another right and left grand on the third hand. Promenade home. And you should be home. Okay. So that would be. No, it wasn't. That was exactly right. Okay, we'll do it again. Head star through, pass through. So from here, that get up starts here, and it just happens to be one I use a lot, or sparingly. Touch a quarter, scoot back, and I have variations of this as well. Boys run, slide through, allemande left, right and left grand. On the third hand, start another right and left grand, but on the third hand, promenade home. Oh, I mean, on the third hand, do another right and left grand. I got lost track of where I was, too. And on the third hand, you should be home, or promenade home. Sorry about that. Yeah. Okay, so, but that's just one. I mean, you can, but you have to come up with your own,
Knowing sight, though, you can sight it out with the
Yeah.
what he was doing.
Yeah. So, but that would be one of my across the street box get-outs.
I'm not surprised myself as a caller.
Well, something like, there, how many places can you do a proper element left from? That's a good question. How many places can you do it? Anybody know? There are two. 0 box and 0 line. Right? In effect, that's the only two places you can do a proper element left from. A 0 box and a 0 line. Okay? A circle is a 0 line. Right? If you compress the circle, it becomes a 0 line. Okay? All right? So those are the only two places you can. So your surprise get-outs, most of them are going to be from one of those two places, I would imagine. Okay? Something like this. Heads right and left through. Past the ocean, element left. Oh, don't hesitate. Well, it was really a 0 box get-out. Right? Do we agree on that? Does anybody not agree on that? Good. Okay, that's really a zero box get-out. But you weren't in a 0 box. You see. So those are the kinds of things. The heads, step in and face your corner. Make me a wave.
Sorry, it just came out.
How did we convert from a 0 box to a 0 line? I forgot now. Oh, swing through. Girls circulate. Boy run. Oh, no, the boys had to trade first. So now the boys have got to trade. Oh, you guys did. Okay. Bend the line. Okay, now we're at a 0 line. Okay. All right. So you might want to do a get out from here that's a little different. So you might pass, or right and left through, past the ocean. Point at your corner. Element left. Promenade home. But they're really those two places. You just have to look for those and say, okay, what kind of a setup can I put the dancers in to do that? Or you can do right and left grand get out. It's the same, but it's the same issue. The issue is still the same. Okay.
Surprise right and left grand.
Yeah, or at home get outs. At home get outs, you must be aware of the quadrant that the dancers are standing in when you say you're home. Well, the square is split into 4 quadrants, yes? One line right down between the heads. One line right down between the sides, yes? Okay, everybody is standing in their quadrant number 1. Okay, the next one to their right is number 2. The one to the next, okay, around the square. And everybody's got to be standing in their quadrant number 1 to be home. So you must be aware of where they're standing when you say you're home. Okay? Any other questions? Did that help you out at all?
A little bit. And I have another really way I question, because I'm a girl and I call from the woman's perspective.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, does that mean that I'm a woman and I call from the women's perspective? And there are a couple of the ways that you resolve squares, for example, the swing through, turn through, that don't work from the women's perspective.
Okay, but why don't they?
Well,
Why, from a woman's perspective, do you say it's different? Because you're not watching a man, you're watching the
I'm watching me in my corner as though I'm dancing. And, for most of the resolving, it's not a problem. It is a problem for one method, and I'm working to resolve that issue. But my question is, do these get-outs work no matter whose position you look at?
Yes.
Okay. Because that's going to be important.
Yes, absolutely. I think Randy had some things all good. Tell us who you are, sir.
Randy Doherty. This is a little bit of what's going to come tomorrow. Let's go to the across the street box by having the heads do a square through 2. So here's the across the street box, okay? My get out is going to start from here. Pass through. Those in the middle step to a wave, and the center girls trade, and you 4 spin the top while the other people separate around the outside. Everybody do a right and left grand. Hallelujah. And the crowd goes crazy, and are you home, gang? So, try it again. Head square through 2. All right, pass through. Center, step to a wave. Center girls trade. Now, you got to be able to do a good spin the top. Now, usually we don't do spin the top with the boy on the end. We always do swing through and then spin the top. So if you got a floor, you got to make a judgment, am I going to make it? The people on the outside are the heads. Are they going to make a separate? If they don't know what separate is, they're not going to make it either. So this whole thing is worthless unless your judgment gets them through it.
And I'm going to help Randy out a little bit here. You want to work the dancers into this. You do not want to call this cold. You want to have done some spin the tops from normal parallel ocean waves before you do this.
Yeah.
Yes.
But this is the get out. And like, if you want them to win, Doug is telling you right. You got to practice. Instead of always saying swing through, spin the top, try doing spin the top, swing through. Okay? So now in the wave, start with your right, spin the top. The heads separate. Everyone find your original. Sir, you got to go 3/4, Michael. 3/4 by the left. Now everyone find the original. Do a right and a left grand. Obviously, we're working with callers and not dancers. Are you home yet? That was class 303 right there, okay? Okay, so let's make 0 lines by just sliding one way or the other to make lines. All right. So you have a line of 4. This I would do a get in, which is called the 0 line. If I wanted to go the other direction, we could do the technical 0. Instead of having these ends still be ends, everyone bend the line. That's a technical 0. He went from the end to the center. Did we change the phaser? No, we haven't changed anything. So it's phaser if you're from the Midwest.
Or either you're Star Wars and Star Trek, okay?
All right. Now, again, this is a neat get out, but again, I would have practiced some other pattern to get people through this, okay? Do you know where your corner is? Okay, I just wanted to check. Centers, square through 4. The ends, Alaman left. Everyone find originals, do a right and a left grand. Now, that's just one little get out. Tomorrow I will show you how to do one little memory. That was really a 2-call event. Center, square through 4, and the ends, Alaman left. I can change that where you can do, instead of having 1 module, I'll give you 8. 8. By just knowing a little things about phaser, arrangements, relationships, sequences. You want one more of those? Same idea?
You're going to get a whole lot of this tomorrow.
Head, slide right, make your line. Okay? Let's do, we have a 0 line. I'm going to take him to a 0 box, okay? So let's do a left touch a quarter. We're doing a conversion. Circulate. Girl run. You were paying attention. Good, okay? Touch a quarter. Scoot back. Leaders, you turn back. Good choice. Up to the middle and back. All right? Now what happens? Just checking, make sure you knew who was who. Okay, here we go. Centers. Left square through 4. The ends, Alaman right. Everyone start looking for your corner. Alaman left. Come home and say, whoa, baby, whoa, baby. So all I did was the 2 get outs, the center square through, but I started with what? Ambidextrous. So the centers did a left square through and the ends did not an Alaman left, they did an Alaman right. You could do that with the corner line. That was called a corner line. We could do it with right-hand lady line, opposite lady line, all based on these calls. That's what 303 is all about tomorrow. Okay?
We got all the way in the back. Can you come up here, sir?
I find it hard to keep my mouth closed sometimes. My name is Don Beck. I'm from Massachusetts. I think I want to make a slight clarification on what you guys were doing. Let's have the head step forward and face your corners. We're in a 0 box. We could do an Alaman left from here. Paul was having you do a 0 called chicken plucker. Don't do it, but it's right and left through, pass through, trade by, times 2. Get you back to here. You could also do an Alaman left from here, because he did a 0 that had 0 effect on the phaser. Disregarding body flow, space, hand availability, and all that, I could do what Tom said, everybody do a lady's chain. I know it's awkward from here, but it's the easiest thing. Now we're going to do that. So the get out from here, don't do it, is ladies chain, Alaman left. Ladies chain will put you right back into that 0 box. Let's do the 0. Do a chicken plucker. Right and left through. Pass through. Trade by. Right and left through. Pass through. Trade by. That's a true 0. It's got you right back to where you were. Do a ladies chain. That was our get out. Now you're in a 0 box and you could do an Alaman left. A true 0. Now let's do something else. We're still in a 0 box. We're going to do the conversion module to change direction. I forgot exactly what you called it, Paul. But do a star through, pass through, bend the line, and star through. We're still in a 0 box, except we've exchanged actives. So effectively, do a ladies chain. If this was a true 0, this conversion we did, I could do that, and you'd still be in the get out would be ladies chain, Alaman left. But since that was a technical 0, it's not going to work. Let's try it. Star through, pass through, bend the line, star through. Now try the get out, ladies chain, and you'll notice it don't work. So there's technical 0s and true 0s. True 0s always work. Technical 0s work sometimes, not other times. Some callers find technical 0s are real easy to use by saying, I'll never use them, because you know if it's right 50% of the time, it's wrong 70% of the time. And so these guys didn't mention, but you've got to be aware of the modules that are technical 0s to know when you can use them, when you can't. And I'm not going to take the time, because it's not my show, to explain when they do and when they don't, but you should be aware of which ones were technicals and which ones weren't. Get you back home. I wasn't sight calling at this time. Center's back on square your set. No, I'm serious. Center's back on square your set. 4 ladies chain. And now circle left enough till you get back home. So I wanted to do it that way because it's showing you that the effect of a technical 0, if you've done a ladies chain or equivalent before, is effectively a 4 ladies chain. Thank you. Thank you.
Any others?
Anybody else?
Come on, we got 10 minutes yet.
4 ladies chain 3/4. Heads lead to the right and circle up 4 and break out and make a line. Now, we can look at chicken pucker as just going across the street and coming back, and that's all we're going to do. But now I've set you up with your corner. So short of the ending it, I'll be able to do an Alaman left. So let's star through, pass through, trade by, go right and left through, pass through, trade by, and you'll find your corner because I gave it to you Alaman left. And I basically use the action of going across the street and coming back like a chicken plucker to set up that very easily. And I could chain the ladies and have different get-outs, and I could multiply that 4 times. I could give you your opposite, or I could give you your right-hand lady, and then I could have a different get-out, and I would multiply that again. I can show it if you want, but let's say I wanted to let's do an Alaman left, and walk by your partner and get your right-hand lady. Promenade, don't slow down. Heads wheel around. Okay, we're going to do a star through. And now we're just going to use chicken plucker for the heck of it so we can throw a 0 in, okay? Right and left through, dive through, pass through, trade by, right and left through, pass through, pass through, trade by, right? All right, now I'm going to pass through, trade by, element left. So there was a right-hand lady get out that I had, and I just threw a chicken plucker. Oh, I didn't get it. Okay.
No.
I didn't finish. That's why I didn't finish it.
Right.
Sorry. Okay. But anyway, you can put these together. Let's have 4 ladies chain, and I'll do it right this time. And we're out of time. So heads lead to the right, circle up 4, break out, and make a line. All right, now I can start through and do the chicken plucker, or let's pass through and bend the line. And I'm going to have a sequence here. And pretend that I start through and did a chicken plucker and brought you back here again. Start through, pass through, trade by, start through, and do an element left, and we're there. So you can chain the ladies and do all those things and throw the chicken pluckers in between. I just didn't do the chicken plucker that time, but I could have.
Okay.
And done it.
Thanks, Tom. You guys can sit down. Did some research and found out that the author of Chicken Plucker was the Ed Gilmore.
Yeah, that's it.
Ed Gilmore. And we lost a terrific caller when we lost Ed Gilmore, let me tell you. The man was just phenomenal. I had the pleasure of getting to dance to him shortly before he passed away. But it was an amazing dance. You never knew what was coming from Ed Gilmore because he was so good. I appreciate y'all coming. Thank you very much. And nice hand for my panelists, Doug Davis and Paul Henze. Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for your hard work that you put into it. And it's break time in about 5 or 6 minutes, something like that. Thank you all very much.